The final straw came when I received the formal notice, not a termination, but a role transition, effective immediately following the product launch, moving me to a nebulous founder emeritus and technical advisor position with significantly reduced compensation and no decision-making authority. The document was delivered to my desk in a sealed envelope while Marcus was conveniently traveling for investor meetings. That evening, I completed my documentation package and activated the technical escrow protocols. By morning, several core platform functions would begin showing warning notifications about licensing violations, visible only to administrative users, creating a 14-day countdown to functionality restrictions. The timing aligned perfectly with their planned product launch. Rather than confronting Marcus immediately, I waited for the planned pre-launch executive meeting where the entire leadership team would be present. As expected, Chad opened the meeting with a review of launch logistics, followed by Eliza's marketing presentation. My agenda slot for the technical readiness review had been mysteriously shortened from 30 minutes to 5. When I stood to present, I deviated from the expected technical readiness update. Instead, I connected my laptop to the conference room display and pulled up the partnership agreement, specifically Article 7, Section 3, Intellectual Property Attribution and Mission Continuity. The room's atmosphere shifted instantly as I calmly explained violations that had occurred during my medical absence. These provisions weren't arbitrary legal jargon, I explained, scrolling through the highlighted sections. They were fundamental to our founding agreement and directly tied to the technology's functionality. Marcus attempted to interrupt, his face flushing with a mixture of anger and panic. This isn't the appropriate forum for personal grievances. Alex, we can discuss your concerns privately after the launch. This isn't a grievance, Marcus. It's a notification of active contract enforcement, I replied, switching screens to display the back-end system logs showing the escrow protocols already activated. As of this morning, the platform has entered technical reconciliation mode. You have 14 days to remedy these violations before core functionality becomes restricted. The ensuing chaos was both predictable and satisfying. Chad immediately began calculating financial implications, while Eliza worried about press coverage. The junior executives looked confused, having never been informed about these founding provisions. Marcus alternated between attempting to dismiss my claims as technical intimidation and frantically texting the company's legal counsel. "You're bluffing," Marcus finally declared, regaining his composure. "You can't unilaterally restrict the technology. That would violate your fiduciary duty to the company and shareholders." That's when I slid the formal legal opinion across the table, a document prepared by my attorney confirming that the escrow mechanism was a pre-existing contractual condition, not a new action on my part. Its enforcement was actually the fulfillment of my obligation to protect the company's intellectual property from misattribution and misuse. "I'm not restricting anything," I clarified. "I'm enforcing our original agreement. The technology will continue functioning normally if you honor the terms we both signed. The choice is entirely yours." The meeting dissolved into a strategic retreat as Marcus and his inner circle rushed to separate offices for emergency discussions. I remained in the conference room, methodically organizing my documentation while various executives came in to ask clarifying questions, most of them clearly hearing about these provisions for the first time. Within hours, the company's legal team had verified the legitimacy of both the contract clauses and the technical escrow mechanisms. By evening, an emergency board meeting had been called, and the previously immovable launch date was suddenly described as flexible. In communications to partners, Marcus avoided direct contact, operating through intermediaries while formulating his response. His initial strategy was predictable: threaten overwhelming legal action while searching for technical workarounds. Neither approach was viable. The legal provisions had been crafted specifically to withstand challenges, And the technical architecture was designed with precisely this scenario in mind. What followed was 10 days of the most intense corporate maneuvering I'd ever experienced. Marcus deployed every tactic in the Silicon Valley playbook, attempting to turn employees against me with claims I was endangering their jobs, approaching investors to pressure me, even trying to hack into my personal devices to find compromising information. His desperation only confirmed I had been right about his intentions all along. The company split into factions. Many of the original engineers and education specialists who had joined because of our mission privately expressed support for my stand. Several had witnessed their own contributions being marginalized as the company pivoted toward enterprise applications. Meanwhile, Marcus's Stanford network closed ranks around him, portraying me as a vindictive technical founder, unable to scale with the company's growth. As the technical reconciliation countdown continued, investors began asking increasingly pointed questions about the situation. 2 major potential Series B participants withdrew from discussions entirely, unwilling to invest in a company with such fundamental founder conflict. The pressure on Marcus intensified with each passing day. On day 11, Marcus finally requested a direct meeting at a neutral location, a private room at an upscale San Francisco restaurant. He arrived with Chad and the company's lead counsel, while I brought my personal attorney. The power dynamics had shifted dramatically since our last direct interaction. "Let's be pragmatic about this," Marcus began, his usual charismatic confidence notably diminished. "We've built something valuable together, and this conflict serves neither of us. What would it take to resolve this situation amicably?" "Complete honesty would be a start," I replied, opening my laptop. "Let's review what actually happened during my medical leave and work from there." The 4-hour negotiation that followed was exhaustive. Marcus initially tried to characterize the changes as natural evolution rather than deliberate marginalization. Each claim was methodically countered with documentation from my evidence collection. Eventually, the pretense fell away, and we began discussing actual terms for resolution. My demands were straightforward: proper attribution for the intellectual property, reinstatement of education as the primary company focus with enterprise applications as secondary verticals, my restoration to an appropriate leadership role, and governance changes to prevent similar situations in the future. I wasn't seeking revenge or control, just respect for our founding principles and my contributions. Marcus countered with increasingly generous financial offers in exchange for my departure, missing the fundamental point that this wasn't about money. It was about recognition and mission integrity. His counsel eventually recognized the impasse and suggested a structured resolution framework that would address the core violations while allowing both founders to maintain dignity. 3 days later, we announced a strategic realignment to the company. The public narrative described the mutual decision to refocus on our educational roots while thoughtfully expanding into enterprise applications where appropriate. Internally, the changes were more substantial. Patent applications were corrected to properly reflect inventorship. My position was restored as chief architect with expanded authority over technical decisions, and the board was restructured to include education specialists who would help maintain mission alignment. Marcus remained CEO, but with modified authorities requiring technical leadership approval for core platform changes. We also implemented formal protection for other team members' contributions, ensuring no one else would face similar attribution issues. The technical escrow mechanisms were maintained, but placed under dual key control, requiring both of us to activate. The product launch was delayed by 6 weeks, but ultimately successful. Our return to emphasizing educational technology actually resonated more strongly with the market than the generic enterprise pivot would have. Several school districts that had been hesitant about our direction renewed their interest, and we secured a partnership with a major foundation focused on educational equity. The Series B Funding round eventually closed at a valuation slightly lower than Marcus's original projections, but with investors who genuinely supported our educational mission. More importantly, the company culture began healing as employees recognized that contributions would be respected regardless of title or connections. Marcus and I maintained a professional working relationship, though the trust was irreparably damaged. He focused on business growth within the agreed parameters while I ensured our technology continued advancing educational outcomes. The company thrived precisely because we returned to the authentic mission that had inspired its creation. Most surprising outcome was the industry response. What could have been dismissed as typical founder conflict instead sparked important conversations about intellectual attribution in technology companies. Several prominent VCs revised their standard investment terms to include clearer provisions about founder contributions and mission continuity. Two major technology publications ran features on the growing problem of technical founder displacement and the need for better protection mechanisms. My approach became something of a case study in technical founder self-defense. I began receiving messages from engineers and developers facing similar situations, seeking advice on protecting their innovations. This eventually led to a side project developing open-source templates for technical attribution protection that founders could incorporate into their company formation documents. The experience transformed my understanding of Silicon Valley's power dynamics. Technical innovation alone isn't enough. Structural protection is essential when idealistic missions collide with market pressures. The systems that enable rapid growth can easily become vehicles for sidelining the very people whose innovations made that growth possible. The most valuable lesson wasn't about legal clauses or technical safeguards, though those proved crucial. It was about the importance of documentation and preparation. By methodically preserving evidence of my contributions from day one, I created an irrefutable record that made denial impossible. When combined with strategic technical architecture decisions, this documentation formed an effective defense against what had become a standard Silicon Valley playbook for removing technical founders. 6 months after our strategic realignment, I was invited to speak at a conference for technical founders. My session on architectural self-defense was initially scheduled for a small breakout room, but was moved to the main stage after registration exceeded capacity. The audience was filled with engineers and developers who recognized their own vulnerability in my story. Your technology isn't just the code you write, I told them. It's the systems you design, the documentation you maintain, and the protection mechanisms you implement. In an ecosystem that increasingly values business execution over technical innovation, you need to architect your organizational position as carefully as you architect your technology. The questions afterward reflected deep anxiety among technical founders about their own positions. Many described early-stage versions of what I had experienced, gradually diminishing input, strategic meetings scheduled during their absences, subtle repositioning of their contributions in investor presentations. They had assumed such treatment was simply the natural order of startups. The business people inevitably assumed control as companies scaled. There's nothing natural or inevitable about it, I explained. It's a deliberate strategy that succeeds. Because technical founders are often unprepared for business maneuvering. The solution isn't becoming more like them. It's creating systems that protect your authentic contribution while allowing the company to grow. Throughout the conference, investors and business executives approached me with surprising candor. Several admitted to participating in similar founder transitions, justifying them as necessary for company growth. Our conversations were tense but productive, highlighting the fundamental disconnect between technical innovation and business execution perspectives. One prominent venture capitalist pulled me aside after my talk. "You know, what you did terrifies people like me," he admitted. The idea that a technical founder could build in mechanisms that enforce founding agreements, regardless of board votes or funding. Pressure that changes the game. But maybe it needs changing. When I returned to the office after the conference, the atmosphere had subtly shifted. Word of my presentation had spread through industry channels, and several Valence Tech employees had watched the recorded session. Online, junior engineers now approached me with technical questions they'd previously directed to Marcus's handpicked technical leads. The original team members walked with renewed confidence, no longer worried their contributions would be minimized or attributed to others. Marcus maintained a professional demeanor, but I could sense his discomfort with my growing industry profile. Our weekly strategy meetings became exercises in careful negotiation rather than collaborative planning. He would propose aggressive growth initiatives that pushed against our educational focus, while I would counter with technology enhancements that prioritized learning outcomes over enterprise scalability. The tension was productive if not particularly pleasant. 3 months after our reconciliation, we faced our first major test. A prominent technology conglomerate approached with acquisition interest, offering a valuation that would make both founders wealthy. The initial discussion seemed promising until we received their term sheet, which included a critical detail. I would be subject to a 3-year integration period with limited authority, while Marcus would immediately join their executive leadership team. The pattern was depressingly familiar. Separate the technical founder from decision-making, while leveraging their innovations. The acquisition team clearly expected Marcus to help facilitate my sidelining, approaching him with private communications that he, to his credit, shared with me and the board. "They're trying to drive a wedge between us," Marcus acknowledged during a tense private meeting in his office. "They see our recent conflicts as an opportunity." "And what do you see it as?" I asked, studying his expression carefully. Marcus leaned back in his chair, considering his words. 6 months ago, I might have viewed it differently. But I've watched what you've built since our reset. The educational impact metrics are undeniable, and our user growth is actually outpacing my enterprise strategy projections. He slid the acquisition offer across his desk. "This isn't the right path forward." We jointly declined the acquisition offer, a decision that surprised the industry given the premium valuation. Our explanation was straightforward. We were committed to our educational mission and believed we could create more value independently. The rejection strengthened our standing with the team and reinforced our refocused mission externally. This aligned position didn't eliminate our fundamental differences. Marcus still prioritized growth metrics and market positioning, while I focused on technical innovation and educational outcomes. But our complementary perspectives now strengthened the company rather than threatening to tear it apart. The product development cycle that followed demonstrated this new balance. Our platform expanded to support students with a wider range of learning differences, including dyslexia and processing disorders that I had researched extensively. Simultaneously, we developed a more sophisticated analytics dashboard that appealed to school administrators and potential enterprise partners, addressing Marcus's concern for marketable business intelligence features that my technical team implemented. Adaptive learning algorithms that personalized content delivery based on individual cognitive patterns, while Marcus's business development group secured partnerships with content providers to expand our library. The integration was seamless precisely because we were each operating in our areas of strength while respecting the overall mission. The educational results exceeded even my optimistic projections. A pilot program with an urban school district showed a 47% improvement in subject mastery among students with attention disorders and a 34% reduction in classroom behavioral incidents. These results attracted attention from education researchers and policy specialists, positioning Valence Tech as a leader in evidence-based educational technology rather than just another SaaS platform. As our user base expanded, I insisted on maintaining a pro bono program that provided our platform to under-resourced schools. Marcus initially resisted, concerned about revenue impacts, but eventually embraced the initiative when he saw how it enhanced our reputation and opened doors with educational foundations that controlled substantial budgets. "You were right about this," he admitted during our quarterly strategy review, examining the impact metrics from our donated deployments. "These schools are providing invaluable implementation data while creating passionate advocates. The ROI is actually tremendous, just not in the way I initially calculated it." This acknowledgement reflected Marcus's evolving perspective. He was still fundamentally a business strategist, but he had begun to appreciate how our educational mission could drive sustainable growth rather than limiting it. Similarly, I had developed greater appreciation for the business infrastructure Marcus had built, which allowed our technology to reach students who could benefit from it. Our Series B funding closed successfully with education-focused investors who valued both our mission and our metrics. The company valuation reached $86 million, lower than what Marcus had initially projected with his enterprise pivot, but with a clearer path to sustainable growth and impact. More importantly, the investment came without the governance concessions that would have undermined our founding principles. The funding allowed us to expand our engineering team and accelerate product development. I established a research partnership with neuroscience laboratories studying cognitive development, incorporating their findings into our adaptive learning algorithms. This research-driven approach differentiated us from competitors who treated educational technology as a simple content delivery mechanism rather than a cognitive support system. Marcus leveraged the new funding to build a more sophisticated sales organization targeting school districts and educational institutions. He hired education specialists rather than generic enterprise sales representatives, recognizing that domain expertise was essential for navigating the complex educational procurement landscape. This specialized team could speak credibly about learning outcomes rather than just technical features, substantially improving our conversion rates. 18 months after our confrontation, Valence Tech had evolved into a company neither of us would have created it independently. My technical vision was reaching more students than I could have managed without Marcus's business infrastructure, while his growth ambitions were being fulfilled through educational impact rather than generic enterprise expansion. The industry took notice of our unusual trajectory. Most technology startups followed a predictable path. Founding mission gives way to growth imperatives. Original focus broadens to capture larger markets, and founding team dynamics shift as venture capital influences increase. We had challenged this pattern by enforcing mission continuity while still achieving substantial growth. A prominent technology journal featured us in a cover story titled "Mission Without Compromise," examining how our governance structure and technology architecture enforced founding principles despite market pressures. The article highlighted our technical escrow mechanism as a potential model for mission-driven technology companies seeking to maintain their core purpose through growth phases. The attention brought a new set of challenges. Competitors began mimicking our educational approach without the underlying research or technical depth. Several launched marketing campaigns emphasizing neurodiversity support without substantive features to deliver it. Marcus was furious about these surface-level imitators, but I viewed them as validation of our approach and an opportunity to further differentiate through technical excellence. Let them make promises, I argued during the strategy session. We'll focus on delivering results that they can't match without our research foundation and technical architecture. The market will sort it out. This perspective shifted our product development strategy toward more transparent outcomes reporting. We built sophisticated but accessible dashboards showing actual learning improvements rather than just engagement metrics. School administrators could see precisely how our platform was affecting student performance across different learning profiles, creating accountability that our imitators couldn't match. As we approached the 3-year mark from our founding, we faced a new inflection point. Our success in the educational market had attracted renewed interest from enterprise, learning and development departments. Several Fortune 500 companies approached us about adapting our platform for corporate training, particularly for neurodivergent employees. This opportunity tested our realignment. The enterprise market offered faster growth and higher margins than education, potentially accelerating our financial trajectory. However, it also risked pulling resources and focus away from our educational mission, recreating the dynamic that had led to our original conflict. Marcus and I spent a week in intense discussion, examining the opportunity from all angles, rather than opposing views. We found ourselves independently reaching similar conclusions. We could extend into enterprise applications as long as we maintained strict mission alignment and resource prioritization for our educational core. We established clear parameters for enterprise expansion. Educational applications would receive development priority. Enterprise features would be built on the same research foundation rather than generic adaptations, and a substantial percentage of enterprise revenue would subsidize our programs for under-resourced schools. These guidelines were formalized in our governance documents, creating structural protection for our mission that wouldn't depend on founder involvement. The enterprise expansion proceeded carefully, focusing specifically on corporate learning and development for neurodivergent professionals. Rather than pursuing generic enterprise training, we positioned ourselves as specialists in cognitive diversity and adaptive learning, maintaining mission alignment while addressing a significant market need. This targeted approach proved more successful than Marcus's original broad enterprise strategy would have been. Companies with diversity and inclusion initiatives were willing to pay premium prices for specialized solutions with proven effectiveness rather than generic training platforms. Our educational credibility became a market advantage rather than a limitation. The enterprise expansion created unexpected challenges for our technology architecture. Corporate environments had security requirements and integration needs, significantly different from educational institutions. My development team spent weeks redesigning our authentication systems and data storage protocols to meet enterprise standards, while maintaining the performance needed for our adaptive learning algorithms. These technical hurdles proved valuable in unexpected ways. The enhanced security architecture benefited our educational users as well, providing better protection for sensitive student data. The integration capabilities developed for corporate systems allowed us to connect more seamlessly with existing educational platforms, expanding our presence in schools that had already invested in other technologies. As we navigated these implementation challenges, Marcus demonstrated newfound respect for technical complexity. Rather than pushing for accelerated timelines to meet sales opportunities, he adjusted market expectations and provided the engineering team with necessary resources. This patience reflected his evolving understanding that sustainable growth depended on technical integrity rather than just market momentum. 6 months into our enterprise expansion, we faced our first major crisis. A prominent client implemented our platform for their global workforce without following our onboarding protocols, resulting in poor initial results and executive disappointment. The client's learning and development director, facing internal criticism, began publicly questioning our technology's effectiveness rather than acknowledging their implementation failures. Marcus's instinct was to offer concessions and customizations to salvage the relationship. "We can't afford negative word of mouth in this market," he argued during an emergency strategy session. "We need to do whatever it takes to turn this around, even if it means special development work." I understood his concern but recognized a dangerous precedent. If we customize for everyone who implements incorrectly, will fragment our codebase and undermine our research foundation, I countered. We need to fix the implementation, not compromise the technology. The resolution demonstrated our complementary strengths. Marcus personally led a diplomatic intervention with the client's executive team, taking responsibility for unclear implementation guidance without blaming their staff. Meanwhile, I assembled a technical SWAT team that analyzed their deployment data and identified specific configuration changes needed to align with our best practices. Rather than building custom features, we developed improved implementation analytics that would prevent similar problems for future clients. This approach maintained our technical integrity while addressing the immediate business concern, something neither of us would have accomplished independently. The crisis prompted a comprehensive review of our enterprise strategy. We recognized that success in this market required more than just functional technology. It demanded an onboarding process that ensured proper implementation and validated results. Marcus built a specialized client success team staffed with people who understood both our technical architecture and corporate learning environments. This focus on implementation success, rather than just sales, created a virtuous cycle. Properly implemented deployments generated impressive results, which attracted more clients and allowed for higher pricing. The premium pricing supported better client support resources, which further improved implementation quality. Within a year, our enterprise division was exceeding revenue projections while maintaining fewer clients than originally planned. Quality over quantity. The enterprise success created a new tension, resource allocation, between our educational and corporate offerings. As enterprise revenue grew, some investors began questioning our continued investment in lower-margin educational products, particularly our pro bono programs for under-resourced schools. These programs remained central to our mission but were increasingly difficult to justify in conventional business terms. Marcus surprised me by becoming their strongest defender. During a particularly tense board meeting, when an investor questioned the ROI of our educational focus, Marcus presented an analysis demonstrating how our school implementations drove our research insights, which in turn powered our enterprise technology advantage. Our educational work isn't a charitable side project, he explained, displaying metrics I had helped compile. It's our research and development engine. The classroom implementations generate data and insights that keep U.S. years ahead of competitors who are trying to build adaptive learning systems without actual learning environments. This framing resonated with the investors who understood R&D investment even if they were less moved by educational mission. We formalized this approach by establishing a research and impact division that explicitly connected our educational implementations to our technology development, creating a structural justification for continued investment in our original mission. The organizational evolution required adjustments to our leadership structure. As both educational and enterprise divisions grew, Marcus and I found ourselves stretched across too many responsibilities. We needed to expand our executive team without diluting our founding vision or creating the conditions for another power struggle. Our approach reflected our hard-won trust. We jointly interviewed candidates for key positions, requiring both founders' approval for executive hires. We prioritized leaders who demonstrated commitment to our educational mission while bringing specialized expertise in their functional areas. Most importantly, we looked for people who valued the creative tension between business growth and mission focus rather than seeing them as competing priorities. The expanded leadership team transformed our operational capacity. Our new Chief Educational Officer, Dr. Ramirez, brought decades of classroom experience and research credentials that enhanced our standing with educational institutions. The enterprise division thrived under Keisha Williams, who had built learning and development systems for Fortune 500 companies and understood the corporate buying process intimately. With trusted leaders handling day-to-day operations, Marcus and I could focus on strategic direction and innovation. We established a rhythm of working sessions that leveraged our complementary perspectives. I would identify emerging research that could enhance our learning algorithms, while Marcus would explore how these capabilities could address unmet market needs across both educational and enterprise contexts. This collaborative approach led to our most significant innovation yet, an adaptive assessment system that could identify cognitive patterns without traditional testing protocols. The technology used interaction patterns and content engagement metrics to build a comprehensive learning profile, eliminating the need for disruptive formal assessments that often created anxiety, particularly for neurodivergent learners. ASS-ESS MENT system originated from my research partnerships, but was refined through Marcus's market insights. Educational clients had expressed frustration with the testing burdens placed on students, while enterprise customers needed better ways to personalize learning without extensive pre-assessment. The solution addressed both needs simultaneously, exemplifying how our dual market strengthened our innovation rather than dividing it. As the company continued growing, we faced increasing acquisition interest. Technology conglomerates and educational publishers made increasingly generous offers, attracted by our unique position at the intersection of educational and enterprise markets. These approaches were no longer aimed at separating the founders, but instead sought to preserve the dynamic that had created our success. Marcus and I developed a standard response to these overtures. We would consider partnerships that expanded our impact but weren't interested in acquisitions that would compromise our independence or mission. This aligned position strengthened our negotiating position and allowed us to establish collaborative relationships without surrendering control. One such partnership proved particularly valuable. A major educational publisher integrated our adaptive learning technology into their content library, dramatically expanding our reach while maintaining our technological independence. The arrangement generated substantial licensing revenue while advancing our mission of supporting diverse learning needs across educational environments. 4 years after our confrontation in the boardroom, Valence Tech had evolved into a company that embodied both founders' visions rather than choosing between them. Our educational division served over 2 million students across public and private institutions, while our enterprise platform supported learning and development for neurodivergent professionals at more than 200 global companies. The financial results validated our integrated approach. Annual revenue exceeded $40 million with healthy margins and sustainable growth. More importantly, we had demonstrated that mission and market success could reinforce each other rather than existing intention. Our educational focus drove technological innovation that created market advantage, while our enterprise success generated resources that supported expanded educational impact. Our journey became a case study at business schools and technical programs, examining how governance structures and technical architecture could protect founding missions through growth phases. I was frequently invited to speak with computer science students about designing technology with embedded values, while Marcus addressed business programs about mission-aligned growth strategies. The most meaningful validation came from our users. We regularly received messages from students whose educational experiences had been transformed by our platform, often after years of struggling in traditional learning environments. Teachers reported renewed enthusiasm for their profession as our tools helped them reach students they had previously struggled to engage. Corporate clients shared stories of neurodivergent employees thriving after finding learning approaches that matched their cognitive styles. The impact extended beyond our direct users. Our success had influenced the broader educational technology market, with competitors increasingly focusing on cognitive diversity and adaptive learning rather than simple content delivery. Major education conferences now featured dedicated tracks on neurodiversity support, reflecting a fundamental shift in how learning technology was conceptualized and implemented. This industry transformation brought new competitive challenges. As adaptive learning became a standard feature rather than a differentiator, we needed to maintain our technical advantage while operating in an increasingly crowded market. Several well-funded startups emerged with messaging remarkably similar to our own, while established educational technology providers rushed to add adaptive features to their existing platforms. Most of these competitors focused on surface-level adaptivity, simple preference adjustments or basic content sequencing, rather than the deep cognitive modeling that powered our system. They could match our marketing language, but not our technical capabilities or research foundation. Nevertheless, their presence created market confusion and occasionally delayed our sales cycles as clients sorted through seemingly similar options. "We're victims of our own success," Marcus observed during a quarterly strategy review. "We've convinced the market that adaptive learning matters, but now everyone claims to offer it, even if their implementation is superficial." This challenge demanded a response that combined technical innovation and market positioning, another opportunity for our complementary perspectives to strengthen the company. I accelerated our research partnerships to push our cognitive modeling capabilities further ahead of the market, while Marcus developed a more transparent approach to demonstrating our technological difference, rather than keeping our methods proprietary. We published selected research papers documenting our approach to cognitive modeling and adaptive content delivery. This transparency served multiple purposes. It established our scientific credibility, demonstrated our substantial lead over competitors, and contributed to the broader field of educational research. Competitors could see what we were doing, but would need years to replicate our research foundation and implementation expertise. Simultaneously, Marcus developed an evaluation framework that helped potential clients assess adaptive learning platforms against objective criteria. The framework didn't explicitly favor our technology, but established standards that highlighted the differences between deep cognitive adaptation and surface-level content adjustment. This education-focused approach paradoxically strengthened our competitive position by elevating the overall conversation beyond feature comparisons. Our response to competition reflected our maturity as an organization. Rather than becoming defensive or aggressive, we doubled down on our strengths: research depth, implementation expertise, and measurable outcomes. This confidence allowed us to engage with the competitive landscape as a validation of our vision, rather than a threat to our business. The changing market also created unexpected partnership opportunities. Several content providers approached us about integrating our adaptive technology with their subject matter expertise, seeing collaboration as more viable than competing with our established platform. These partnerships expanded our subject coverage without requiring internal content development, allowing us to focus on our core technical strengths. One particularly significant partnership emerged from an unexpected direction. A major assessment company that had initially viewed us as a competitive threat proposed integrating our adaptive learning technology with their evaluation systems. Their standardized tests reached millions of students, but had been criticized for rigidity and failure to accommodate diverse learning needs. Our technology could help them address these criticisms while maintaining their measurement validity. The potential partnership sparked intense internal debate. Assessment systems represented everything our platform had been designed to disrupt: standardized approaches that often disadvantaged neurodivergent learners. Many team members, particularly those from educational backgrounds, expressed concern about associating our mission with traditional testing paradigms. Marcus initially saw the commercial opportunity, while I harbored significant reservations about mission alignment. Our debate extended over several weeks, involving research reviews, ethical discussions, and consultations with educational experts. The resolution came not from compromise, but from innovation. We proposed a fundamentally different approach: to the partnership, rather than simply embedding our technology into their existing assessment framework. We suggested collaborative development of a new evaluation approach that would maintain measurement validity while adapting to individual cognitive patterns. The assessment would adjust not just content presentation, but the nature of the evaluation itself, measuring knowledge and understanding through methods appropriate to each student's learning style. This approach honored our mission while creating substantial business potential. The assessment company recognized that such innovation could position them ahead of market evolution rather than defending against it. After months of careful negotiation and technical planning, we announced the partnership to significant industry attention. The collaboration demonstrated how far we had come from our original conflict. Both founders contributed essential perspectives to the partnership. Development. My insistence on mission integrity and technical authenticity, combined with Marcus's market understanding and business structuring to create an opportunity neither would have developed independently. As our partner network expanded, we faced complex integration challenges that tested our technical architecture. Each partnership required secure data exchange while maintaining user privacy and system performance. The engineering team worked overtime to develop a more sophisticated API framework that could support these integrations without compromising our core functionality. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. The technical complexity created another inflection point in our growth trajectory. We needed to significantly expand our engineering team while maintaining the cohesion and quality that had defined our technology. Traditional hiring approaches wouldn't scale quickly enough to meet our needs, particularly for engineers who understood both software development and cognitive science. I proposed an unconventional solution, acquiring a small research-focused engineering firm specializing in machine learning for behavioral analysis. The team had developed sophisticated models for identifying patterns in human-computer interaction but struggled to find commercial applications for their work. Their technical capabilities aligned perfectly with our needs, while their research orientation matched our company culture. Marcus initially resisted the acquisition approach, concerned about integration challenges and cultural disruption. "We've built something special here," he argued during a tense strategy session. Bringing in an outside team could undermine the foundation we've worked so hard to establish. His concerns were valid but ultimately outweighed by the strategic imperative. We needed specialized talent immediately, and the traditional hiring market couldn't deliver it fast enough to meet our partnership obligations. After extensive due diligence and careful cultural assessment, we proceeded with the acquisition. The integration exceeded our expectations. The acquired team brought not just technical capabilities, but fresh research perspectives that energized our product development. Their experience with different machine learning approaches complemented our existing methods, creating new possibilities for our adaptive algorithms. Most importantly, they shared our commitment to educational impact. Having originally developed their technology for cognitive accessibility applications, the expanded technical capabilities accelerated our product roadmap significantly. Features that had been planned for years in the future became immediately viable, allowing us to extend our adaptive approach to new educational contexts. The most significant breakthrough came in language acquisition support, where the combined team developed models that could identify specific linguistic processing patterns and adapt instruction accordingly. This capability opened entirely new markets for our technology. Language learning platforms, ESL programs, and global education initiatives all faced challenges, supporting diverse learning needs across different linguistic backgrounds. Our newly enhanced system could identify specific processing challenges and adapt instruction in ways that traditional language learning software couldn't approach. Marcus immediately recognized the market potential. "This isn't just a feature enhancement," he observed during a product review. "It's an entirely new growth vector that aligns perfectly with our mission while addressing global educational needs." The language capabilities expanded our international presence dramatically. Educational ministries in multilingual countries were particularly interested in technology that could support diverse linguistic needs within unified classroom environments. Within 18 months of the acquisition, our platform was operating in 27 countries and supporting learning across 14 different languages. The international expansion created new organizational challenges. Remote teams, cultural differences, and diverse educational systems all required adjustment to our implementation approach. We established regional centers staffed with local educational experts who could adapt our methods to specific cultural contexts while maintaining our core technological principles. This global growth attracted attention from international investors, including impact-focused funds interested in educational access and cognitive diversity. Their approach aligned well with our mission, offering growth capital without the pressure to compromise educational focus that we had experienced from traditional venture investors. After careful consideration and extensive due diligence, we accepted a significant investment from a consortium of impact investors. The funding provided resources for continued expansion while reinforcing our mission commitment through formal impact assessment requirements. This accountability structure actually strengthened our governance by creating external validation for our educational focus. 5 years after our boardroom confrontation, Valence Tech had evolved beyond what either founder could have envisioned independently. Our platform supported over 6 million learners across educational and enterprise environments, with documented impact on learning outcomes for neurodivergent students and professionals. The company employed more than 300 people across 4 continents, with a leadership team that reflected our dual commitment to educational mission and operational excellence. The financial results validated our integrated approach. Annual revenue approached $70 million with healthy margins and sustainable growth. More importantly, our impact metrics showed substantial improvements in learning outcomes, particularly for students who had previously struggled in traditional educational environments. Our technology was making a measurable difference in educational equity. While building a successful business, the success brought new personal challenges for both founders. As Valence Tech's profile grew, we found ourselves increasingly in demand. As industry thought leaders pulled in different directions by speaking invitations, advisory opportunities, and media requests. These external commitments competed with our operational responsibilities and threatened the collaborative rhythm we had carefully established. After missing several key product planning sessions due to conflicting travel schedules, we recognized the need for more intentional coordination. We implemented a shared calendar system with protected collaboration blocks, designated time periods reserved exclusively for joint strategic work, regardless of external opportunities. These protected sessions became the foundation of our continued innovation, ensuring that growth didn't undermine the partnership that had become our greatest strength. The external visibility created another unexpected challenge. Founder identity became intertwined with company brand in ways that created both opportunities and risks. My public speaking on neurodiversity and technical architecture positioned Valence Tech as an innovation leader, while Marcus's presentations on mission-driven growth attracted business partners and investors. However, this personal association also raised questions about company stability and succession planning. "We've created something that needs to outlast both of us," Marcus observed during a rare weekend strategy retreat at his cabin in the mountains. "The mission matters too much to remain dependent on founder involvement." This recognition prompted a deliberate leadership development initiative. We identified potential successors for key roles and created mentorship structures that transferred knowledge and decision-making approaches. Most importantly, we documented the principles behind our decisions rather than just the decisions themselves, creating an organizational philosophy that could guide the company beyond our direct involvement. As part of this process, we revisited our technical and legal safeguards, transforming the mechanisms that had protected my contributions during our conflict into more comprehensive structural protections for the company's mission. The updated governance framework included educational impact requirements, research investment minimums, and multi-stakeholder approval processes for significant mission adjustments. These governance changes weren't just theoretical, they were tested almost immediately when a major competitor made an aggressive acquisition offer. The proposal included exceptional financial terms for both founders, but would have integrated our technology into their existing product line rather than maintaining our dedicated educational focus. Under our revised governance structure, the offer couldn't proceed without approval from our Educational Impact Board, which unanimously rejected it despite the financial appeal. The rejected acquisition created tension with some investors, who prioritized financial returns over mission continuity. These discussions forced us to articulate more clearly how our mission focus created sustainable competitive advantage rather than limiting financial potential. Marcus developed a comprehensive analysis demonstrating how our educational commitment drove research insights that maintained our technical leadership, which in turn supported premium pricing and market expansion. "This isn't charity," he explained during a particularly pointed board discussion. "It's strategic differentiation that happens to create social benefit. Our mission isn't separate from our business model. It's the foundation of our competitive moat." This framing shifted the conversation from mission versus profit to mission driving profit, a perspective that aligned all stakeholders behind our integrated approach. The resolution strengthened our governance by testing its resilience under pressure, demonstrating that our structural protections could withstand significant financial temptation. With governance stabilized, we focused on addressing emerging market challenges. Educational technology was consolidating rapidly, with larger players acquiring specialized providers to build comprehensive platforms. This consolidation created both competitive pressure and partnership opportunities, demanding a more sophisticated market strategy. Marcus proposed a selective acquisition approach of our own, identifying complementary technologies that could enhance our platform while maintaining mission alignment. "We need to expand our capabilities without diluting our focus," he argued. "Strategic acquisitions can accelerate our product roadmap if we're disciplined about integration and cultural fit." I initially resisted this approach, concerned about the integration challenges we had narrowly avoided in our previous acquisition. My technical perspective highlighted the risks of cobbling together disparate systems rather than maintaining architectural coherence. After extensive debate, we developed a hybrid approach. We would acquire only technologies built on compatible architectural principles and with strong mission alignment, while partnering with others through a PI integration rather than ownership. This selective approach proved effective, allowing us to expand capabilities while maintaining technical integrity. We acquired a specialized visualization engine that enhanced how our platform presented information to visual learners, seamlessly integrating their technology while bringing their research team into our development organization. Simultaneously, we established a PI partnerships with content providers and assessment platforms, creating an ecosystem around our core technology without assuming responsibility for their technical maintenance. The strategy positioned Valence Tech as a specialized integration hub rather than a generalized platform, focused exclusively on adaptive learning while connecting with broader educational technology systems. This positioning protected us from direct competition with larger conglomerates while establishing our technology as an essential component of the from direct competition with larger conglomerates while establishing our technology as an essential component of the educational ecosystem. As our technical ecosystem expanded, we faced increasing challenges with data governance and privacy protection. Educational applications involve sensitive student information, while enterprise implementations contain proprietary corporate content. Each jurisdiction had different regulatory requirements, creating a complex compliance landscape that threatened to slow our global expansion. Rather than treating privacy as a purely legal challenge, I approached it as a technical architecture opportunity. My team developed a sophisticated data governance system that separated identifying information from learning pattern data, allowing our algorithms to function effectively while minimizing privacy exposure. This technical approach exceeded regulatory requirements in most jurisdictions while maintaining the performance necessary for real-time adaptation. Marcus recognized the competitive advantage in this approach and repositioned our privacy architecture as a market differentiator. While competitors struggled with regulatory compliance across different regions, our foundational architecture allowed consistent operation within diverse privacy frameworks. This technical advantage translated into market expansion opportunities, particularly in regions with stringent data protection requirements. The privacy architecture exemplified how technical innovation and business strategy had become fully integrated in our organization. What began as a compliance requirement became a core competitive advantage through the combination of technical depth and market positioning. Neither founder could have achieved this outcome independently. It required both perspectives working in concert. As we approached the 6-year mark from founding, we faced a significant technical inflection point. The core architecture that had powered our initial success was reaching its scaling limitations as user numbers and feature complexity increased. We needed a fundamental redesign to support our next growth phase, but such transitions are notoriously risky for established platforms. The technical team proposed a gradual migration approach that would take approximately 18 months to complete. This timeline created tension with market opportunities. Several major partnerships were contingent on scaling capabilities that the current architecture couldn't support. The business case for acceleration was compelling, but the technical risks of rushing the transition were substantial. In earlier days, this situation might have created founder conflict, with Marcus pushing for speed while I insisted on technical prudence. Instead, we approached it as a shared challenge requiring both perspectives. I developed a phased migration approach that prioritized components needed for specific market opportunities, while Marcus renegotiated partnership timelines to align with our technical capabilities. The resulting implementation plan balanced technical integrity with business requirements, accelerating specific components while maintaining overall architectural coherence. This approach allowed us to secure key partnerships without compromising system stability or long-term scalability. The migration proceeded successfully, with minimal disruption to existing users while enabling significant new capabilities. This technical transition coincided with an important organizational evolution. As Valence Tech surpassed 350 employees, we recognized the need for more formal leadership structures while preserving the collaborative culture that had driven our success. We implemented a dual-track career framework that valued both management and technical contribution equally, ensuring that talented engineers and educators weren't forced into management roles to advance their careers. The framework reflected our founding partnership, recognizing that leadership takes different forms and that technical expertise deserves the same organizational recognition as business leadership. This approach strengthened our ability to retain top talent while reinforcing our commitment to technical excellence. Alongside operational effectiveness, the organizational evolution prompted a comprehensive review of our compensation philosophy. Traditional startup models tied financial rewards primarily to business metrics, potentially undermining our educational mission. by incentivizing short-term growth over sustainable impact. We needed a framework that aligned financial incentives with our dual commitment to mission and market success. Working with compensation specialists and impact measurement experts, we developed an innovative approach that balanced multiple success indicators. Executive bonuses were tied to a balanced scorecard, including educational outcomes, technical innovation metrics, and financial performance. This structure ensured that leadership decisions would consider our full organizational purpose rather than optimizing for single dimensions of success. The compensation framework extended throughout the organization, with team-specific metrics aligned to departmental responsibilities while maintaining connection to our overall mission. Engineering teams were evaluated partially on learning outcome improvements driven by their technical innovations. Sales teams had educational impact targets alongside revenue goals. This integrated approach reinforced that mission and market success were complementary rather than competing priorities. Implementation required sophisticated measurement systems that could reliably track educational outcomes across diverse contexts. My technical team developed analytics capabilities that identified specific learning improvements attributable to our platform, while Marcus's operations group established reporting frameworks that made these metrics accessible throughout the view organization. The resulting dashboards gave every employee visibility into how their work contributed to both business success and educational impact. The balanced approach attracted attention from management researchers studying sustainable growth models for mission-driven companies. Several business schools incorporated Valence-Tech's compensation framework into their curriculum as an example of structural alignment between profit and purpose. This academic interest brought consulting opportunities from other technology companies, seeking to balance mission commitments with market pressures. While the external recognition was gratifying, the internal effects were more significant. The integrated incentive structure changed how teams collaborated across functional boundaries, reducing silos that had begun forming as the organization grew. Product managers and engineers evaluated feature priorities based on both market potential and educational impact. Marketing teams highlighted mission outcomes alongside technical capabilities in their messaging. This collaborative culture became particularly valuable as we faced increasing market turbulence. A global economic downturn had reduced educational budgets and corporate training investments, creating revenue pressure across the entire sector. Several competitors responded by pivoting to adjacent markets with less mission alignment, but greater short-term revenue potential. Our leadership team gathered for an emergency strategy session to address the changing market conditions. Several executives proposed following competitive moves into more lucrative adjacencies, presenting financial projections that showed significant revenue upside from expanding beyond our core educational focus. The tension between mission commitment and financial pressure created the most significant strategic challenge since our original founder conflict. Marcus surprised many by becoming the strongest defender of mission focus. Short-term pivots will undermine everything that makes us successful, he argued, presenting counter-analysis showing how previous downturns had eventually strengthened mission-aligned companies with sustainable differentiation. Our technical advantage comes directly from our educational focus. Abandoning that for temporary revenue would destroy our long-term value. I supported this position with technical evidence, demonstrating how our research partnerships and educational implementations generated insights that commercial applications alone couldn't provide. Together, we convinced the leadership team that maintaining mission focus while optimizing operational efficiency represented our best response to market pressure. The decision required difficult trade-offs. We reduced expenses by consolidating offices and limiting non-essential projects while protecting core educational initiatives and research partnerships. These measures allowed us to maintain profitability through the downturn without compromising the mission-driven work that sustained our competitive advantage. Our focus during the downturn created unexpected opportunities. As competitors chased short-term revenue through market expansion, they diluted their specialized capabilities and brand positioning. Meanwhile, our continued commitment to educational impact strengthened relationships with core clients and partners, many of whom faced similar pressure to demonstrate value during budget constraints. When educational funding eventually stabilized, Valence Tech emerged in a stronger competitive position. Our sustained research investment had widened our technical lead, while competitors struggled to re-establish specialization after their market diversions. The episode validated our integrated approach. Mission commitment had proven commercially advantageous, even through challenging market conditions. The experience prompted reflection on our longer-term continuity strategy. We had built structural protections for our mission and created leadership depth beyond the founding team, but questions remained about ultimate ownership and governance. Traditional exit paths like acquisition or public offering carried risks of mission dilution through changing control, while maintaining private ownership indefinitely limited liquidity options for early investors and employees. After extensive research and consultation with other mission-driven organizations, we developed an innovative ownership structure that balanced these considerations. A purpose trust would hold controlling interest in the company, with governance provisions ensuring continued educational focus, regardless of management changes. This structure would allow partial liquidity for investors and employees through secondary markets while protecting the company's fundamental purpose. The proposed structure initially faced resistance from some investors who preferred conventional exit paths with complete liquidity. However, Marcus's financial analysis demonstrated that sustained mission alignment actually supported higher long-term valuations through maintained competitive differentiation. This business case, combined with phased liquidity provisions, eventually secured investor support for the purpose trust model. Implementation required complex legal and financial engineering, with regulatory approvals across multiple jurisdictions. The process took nearly a year to complete, resulting in a governance structure that formalized our commitment to balanced value creation, educational impact, technical innovation, and financial sustainability working in concert rather than competition. The ownership transition coincided with our 7th anniversary, prompting reflection on our journey from conflict to integrated partnership. What began as a power struggle had evolved into a governance model that could sustain our mission beyond any individual's involvement. The technical escrow mechanism that once protected my contributions had evolved into a sophisticated purpose protection framework benefiting all stakeholders. During the anniversary celebration, Marcus and I shared the stage to reflect on lessons from our journey. Our greatest innovation wasn't technical or financial, I observed, surveying the hundreds of employees gathered for the event. It was recognizing that purpose and profit aren't opposing forces when properly integrated. The tension between these perspectives creates innovation that neither could achieve independently. Marcus nodded in agreement. We built a company that's stronger precisely because it values both educational impact and business performance. The governance structures we've created don't constrain our growth. They focus it on sustainable value creation that benefits all stakeholders. The celebration highlighted achievements across multiple dimensions. 7 million students using our platform across 42 countries. Learning outcome improvements documented through rigorous research partnerships. Technical innovations protected by 37 patents. And financial performance that had rewarded investors while sustaining our educational mission. Beyond these metrics, the most meaningful validation came from individual impact stories shared throughout the event. Teachers described reaching students they had previously struggled to engage. Parents recounted children's renewed enthusiasm for learning after years of educational frustration. Corporate partners shared how neurodivergent employees had thrived with appropriate learning support. These stories represented the human impact behind our technical and business achievements. Anniversary celebration marked a transition point in Valence Tech's evolution from founder-driven startup to sustainable institution, while Marcus and I remained actively involved. We had established leadership structures and governance mechanisms that could maintain our integrated approach without depending on our daily participation. This transition created space for personal reflection about our individual futures and contributions. During a private conversation following the anniversary events, we acknowledged that our professional journeys had become so intertwined with Valence Tech that we had neglected other aspects of our lives and interests. Both of us had delayed personal projects and limited our involvement in broader industry and policy discussions to focus on company building. The stable leadership team and governance structures we had established created an opportunity to expand our horizons while maintaining our commitment to the organization. We developed complementary approaches to this new phase. Marcus reduced his operational involvement to focus on industry advocacy, working with educational policy organizations to promote evidence-based technology adoption and equitable access. His experience bridging mission and market provided valuable perspective to educational institutions navigating increasing technology options with limited expertise and resources. I established a research foundation focused on next-generation adaptive technologies, particularly applications of emerging cognitive science to learning environments. The foundation operated independently from Valence Tech, but maintained research partnerships that benefited both organizations. This structure allowed exploration of speculative technologies without immediate commercialization pressure, while creating a pipeline for validated innovations to transfer into the company's product development. These expanded roles strengthened rather than diminished our contributions to Valence Tech. Marcus's policy work created favorable regulatory environments and funding mechanisms for educational technology, directly benefiting our market position. My research foundation generated breakthrough approaches to cognitive modeling that maintained our technical leadership as competitors, gradually replicated our earlier innovations. The transition wasn't without challenges. Some team members initially interpreted our expanded focus as reduced commitment to the company, creating uncertainty. That required transparent communication about our continued involvement and long-term vision. The executive team needed time to adapt to increased decision-making authority, occasionally escalating issues that they could have resolved independently. These adjustments reflected natural growing pains in an organization evolving beyond founder-centric operations. We addressed them through structured transition planning, clear communication about decision rights, and regular strategic involvement that maintained continuity while encouraging leadership development. Within 6 months, the new operating rhythm had stabilized with improved organizational resilience. That our expanded perspectives brought fresh insights to Valence Tech's strategic direction. Marcus's policy work revealed emerging educational funding priorities that informed our product roadmap, while my research foundation identified technological applications beyond our current market focus. These external connections enriched our strategic planning, bringing broader context to decisions that might otherwise have become operationally focused. The most significant benefit emerged in our innovation process. The research foundations. Exploration of speculative technologies without immediate commercial constraints generated breakthrough approaches that wouldn't have emerged within normal product development cycles. Meanwhile, Valence Tech's implementation expertise and market understanding provided practical application contexts that academic research environments often lacked. This symbiotic relationship accelerated both theoretical advancement and practical application. One particularly valuable innovation emerged from this collaboration: a cognitive state prediction system that could identify potential learning challenges before they manifested in performance metrics. By analyzing subtle patterns in interaction behavior, the system could detect emergent confusion or frustration early enough for intervention, preventing the negative reinforcement cycles that often lead students to disengage from challenging material. This predictive capability originated in the research Foundation's experimental work, but was refined through Valence Tech's practical implementation expertise. The resulting feature dramatically improved completion rates for challenging content modules, particularly for students with attention and processing differences who often abandon material when encountering obstacles. The innovation demonstrated how our expanded but connected roles enhanced both theoretical advancement and practical impact. The established governance structures proved their value during this transition, maintaining mission alignment despite reduced founder involvement. In daily operations, the Purpose Trust ensured educational focus remained central to strategic decisions, while the balanced incentive structures kept leadership teams focused on integrated performance across impact and financial metrics. These mechanisms functioned exactly as intended, protecting organizational purpose through leadership evolution. As Valence Tech approached its 8th anniversary, the industry landscape had transformed dramatically from our founding environment. Educational technology had become a mainstream investment category, with significant consolidation among providers. Adaptive learning had evolved from experimental approach to standard expectation, with most platforms claiming some form of personalization capability. Within this maturing market, Valence Tech occupied a distinctive position. While competitors offered generalized platforms with surface-level adaptation, our specialized focus on cognitive diversity and deep personalization maintained premium positioning in both educational and enterprise markets. The Research Foundation connection ensured continued technical advancement, while our purpose-protected governance prevented mission dilution. Despite market pressures, the financial results validated this specialized approach. Despite remaining smaller than some consolidated competitors, Valence Tech maintained superior margins and growth rates within our focused segments. Annual revenue exceeded $100 million, with profitability that supported continued research investment while providing competitive returns to investors. This performance demonstrated that purpose protection and financial success could reinforce rather than contradict each other when properly structured. More importantly, our educational impact continued expanding through both direct platform usage and ecosystem influence. Independent research studies documented significant learning outcome improvements for students using our technology, particularly those with diagnosed learning differences. Our methodologies had influenced educational policy in multiple countries, with several national education systems incorporating adaptive approaches into their standard practices. The dual impact, technological and systemic, reflected our integrated approach to innovation. We had advanced adaptive learning technology while simultaneously developing implementation methodologies, professional development systems, and policy frameworks that enabled effective adoption. This comprehensive perspective differentiated our contributions from purely technical innovations that often failed to achieve practical impact due to implementation challenges. The journey from founder conflict to sustainable institution contained lessons that extended beyond our specific experience. We had demonstrated that founding tensions, when properly channeled, could drive innovation rather than destruction. The polarized perspectives that nearly tore the company apart had ultimately become its greatest strength when integrated through appropriate governance structures and collaborative leadership. This evolution offered a potential model for other technology companies navigating the inherent tensions between mission focus and market demands. Our experience suggested that these forces could be complementary rather than contradictory when properly structured, with mission commitment driving sustainable differentiation, while market discipline ensuring operational effectiveness and resource efficiency. The model we had developed attracted increasing attention from the broader technology ecosystem. Founders, investors, and policymakers sought our perspective on balancing mission integrity with market success, particularly in sectors where social impact and commercial opportunity intersected. These conversations extended our influence beyond educational technology to healthcare, environmental sustainability, and financial inclusion. Marcus became a regular speaker at investment conferences, challenging conventional venture capital approaches that prioritized rapid scaling over sustainable impact. His presentations illustrated how mission-aligned growth could produce superior long-term returns by creating defensible market positions based on authentic specialization rather than mere execution advantage. This perspective resonated particularly with emerging impact investment funds seeking models that integrated financial and social returns. My contributions focused on technical architecture approaches that embedded values directly into system design. Through academic publications and industry presentations, I demonstrated how Valence Tech's technology incorporated educational principles at the architectural level rather than as surface-level features. This integration created both impact advantage and competitive moat, as competitors couldn't replicate our results through simple feature addition without fundamental redesign. Together, these complementary perspectives offered a comprehensive framework for mission-protected innovation that attracted significant attention. Several business schools developed case studies examining Valence Tech's evolution from founder conflict to integrated purpose-driven organization. These academic analyses highlighted our governance innovations, balanced incentive structures, and technical architecture as replicable models for other mission-driven technology companies. The growing influence brought partnership opportunities with other mission-focused organizations across sectors. Healthcare technology companies sought our expertise in developing adaptive interfaces for diverse cognitive needs. Environmental monitoring platforms explored how our user engagement approaches could support behavior change initiatives. Financial inclusion startups examined our balanced governance structures as models for their own development. These cross-sector collaborations enriched our perspective while extending our impact beyond educational applications. The methodologies we had developed for educational contexts often transferred effectively to other domains, while exposing us to different technical approaches and business models that informed our own evolution. The resulting knowledge exchange accelerated innovation across multiple impact-focused sectors. One particularly valuable collaboration emerged with a healthcare technology provider specializing in cognitive rehabilitation for traumatic brain injury patients. Their clinical expertise combined with our adaptive learning architecture produced remarkably effective therapy tools that dynamically adjusted to individual recovery patterns. The resulting system demonstrated significantly improved recovery outcomes compared to standard approaches, particularly for patients with complex or atypical injury profiles. This collaboration highlighted how our core technical capabilities could extend beyond educational contexts while maintaining mission alignment. The cognitive modeling approaches developed for learning differences applied effectively to rehabilitation needs, while the clinical validation strengthened our research foundation. The partnership expanded our impact while reinforcing our specialized expertise rather than diluting our focus. The healthcare application prompted reflection on potential misuses of adaptive technology in less mission-aligned contexts. As behavioral prediction and influence capabilities advanced, their potential application for manipulation rather than support became increasingly concerning. We recognize the need for ethical frameworks to guide appropriate use of these powerful technologies, particularly as they extended beyond our direct implementation control. This concern led to our most significant policy initiative, the Adaptive Technology Ethics Framework, developed in collaboration with academic institutions, regulatory experts, and technology ethics specialists. The framework established principles for responsible development and deployment of adaptive technologies across sectors, emphasizing transparency, user agency, appropriate oversight, and demonstrable benefit validation. The framework reflected our practical experience balancing innovation and responsibility. Rather than focusing exclusively on theoretical concerns or technical specifications, it addressed implementation realities and organizational incentives that often determined actual impact. This practical orientation made the guidelines more immediately applicable across different contexts and development approaches. Industry adoption exceeded our expectations. Several major technology companies voluntarily incorporated the framework into their development processes, recognizing that proactive ethical governance could prevent regulatory challenges and public backlash. Educational institutions and healthcare organizations began including framework compliance in their procurement requirements, creating market incentives for responsible development practices. This policy influence represented an unexpected extension of our mission impact. What began as technology development for educational needs had evolved to include systemic change in how adaptive technologies were designed, deployed, and governed across multiple sectors. The ethical framework became as significant a contribution as our technical innovations, potentially affecting millions of users beyond our direct platform reach. The expanding influence created tension with our focused organizational identity. Some team members advocated for broader market expansion to directly address these adjacent needs, while others worried about mission dilution through excessive diversification. The discussion echoed our original founder conflict, but now played out across a much larger organization with established governance structures to manage the tension productively. The purpose trust governance proved particularly valuable during these discussions. The trust's educational mission focus provided clear parameters for potential expansion, allowing adjacent applications that maintained cognitive support focus while preventing unlimited diversification. This structural guidance allowed thoughtful exploration of appropriate boundaries without risking mission abandonment through incremental drift. After extensive discussion and market analysis, we established a balanced approach to adjacent opportunities. Valence Tech would maintain exclusive focus on educational applications, where our expertise and mission alignment were strongest. The Research Foundation would explore broader cognitive support applications through partnerships rather than direct commercialization, ensuring continued innovation without organizational overextension. This focused but connected approach maintained our organizational integrity while extending our impact through collaborative influence. Valence Tech continued leading educational technology with uncompromised focus, while our research and policy work shaped broader technology evolution through partnership and advocacy rather than direct market entry. The model balanced concentrated expertise with extended influence, maximizing impact while preserving organizational coherence. The 9th anniversary of Valence Tech's founding provided an opportunity to reflect on this journey from narrow conflict to expansive influence. What began as a power struggle over company direction had evolved into a comprehensive approach to mission-protected innovation with implications far beyond our specific market. The technical escrow mechanism designed for founder protection had grown into an ethical framework shaping an entire technology category. The 10th anniversary approached with Valence Tech, firmly established as both market leader and mission exemplar. Our adaptive learning platform supported over 12 million users across educational and enterprise environments, with documented impact on learning outcomes for neurodivergent students and professionals. The company employed more than 500 people across 6 continents, with a leadership team that embodied our balanced approach to purpose and performance. Planning for the anniversary celebration prompted reflection on the decade-long journey and its broader implications. Marcus and I spent a weekend at his mountain cabin, now a tradition for our most significant strategic discussions, considering What lessons might benefit the broader technology ecosystem? The conversation extended beyond our specific experience to examine patterns we'd observed across the industry. The fundamental challenge hasn't changed, Marcus observed, reviewing notes from similar discussions years earlier. Technology companies still struggle with the tension between mission fidelity and market pressure. What's changed is our understanding of how these forces can strengthen rather than undermine each other when properly integrated. This integration had defined our evolution. What began as opposing perspectives, technical integrity versus market growth, had become complementary dimensions of a unified approach. The technical foundation ensured sustainable differentiation, while market discipline provided resources and implementation scale. Neither could achieve meaningful impact without the other. We decided to document this journey and its lessons in a comprehensive case study, more detailed than the academic analyses that had examined specific aspects of our approach. The resulting manuscript combined my technical architecture insights with Marcus's business strategy perspective, illustrating how organizational structures and incentive systems could align these potentially competing dimensions. The manuscript extended beyond Valence Tech's specific experience to address broader patterns in technology development. We examined how mission-driven companies often lost their distinctive purpose through incremental compromises during growth phases, while idealistic ventures frequently failed to achieve meaningful impact due to implementation limitations. The integrated approach we had developed offered a potential path between these common failure modes. Publication coincided with our 10th anniversary, generating substantial industry attention and academic interest. The book became required reading in technology management programs and startup accelerators, particularly those focused on impact-driven innovation. The framework it presented, technical architecture, governance structures, and incentive systems working in concert to maintain mission integrity through growth phases, provided a replicable model for mission-protected innovation. Beyond the publication, the anniversary provided an opportunity to strengthen Valence Tech's long-term sustainability. We implemented the final phase of our succession planning, transitioning primary operational leadership to the executive team while maintaining strategic involvement through board participation. This evolution completed the transformation from founder-dependent startup to self-sustaining institution. The leadership transition reflected our complementary contributions to the organization's development. Dr. Ramirez, our Chief Educational Officer, assumed CEO responsibilities with deep commitment to our educational mission and proven operational effectiveness. The technical organization continued advancing under leadership developed through our engineering mentorship programs, maintaining innovation momentum while preserving architectural coherence. The anniversary celebration itself balanced recognition of past achievements with focus on future possibilities. Rather than dwelling exclusively on historical milestones, the event highlighted emerging research initiatives and implementation partnerships that would extend our impact in coming years. This forward orientation reflected a fundamental aspect of our organizational culture, appreciating achievements while continuously advancing capabilities. Student stories remained the most powerful element of the celebration. 10 years of operation had produced thousands of individual impact narratives. Students who discovered learning capacities after years of struggle, professionals whose careers advanced through appropriate learning support, educators who transformed their practice using adaptive approaches. These stories connected technical innovation to human outcomes, reinforcing the purpose that had sustained our development through various challenges. The financial outcomes had validated our integrated approach. Valence Tech had achieved the rare combination of substantial social impact and exceptional investor returns, demonstrating that purpose protection could enhance rather than compromise commercial success when properly implemented. The purpose trust ownership structure had maintained mission integrity while providing appropriate financial returns to early supporters through secondary market transactions. Beyond Valence Tech's specific success, the decade had seen meaningful progress in the broader adaptive learning ecosystem. Our open research publications and ethical framework had influenced development approaches across the industry, while our PI partnerships had created connection points between specialized components rather than forcing consolidation under single platforms. The resulting ecosystem supported diverse approaches to adaptive learning while maintaining interoperability. Policy changes reflected this ecosystem evolution. Educational technology procurement had shifted from generic platform capabilities to specific outcome metrics, particularly for supporting diverse learning needs. Regulatory frameworks increasingly recognized the importance of transparent algorithmic approaches and appropriate data governance in adaptive systems. These systemic changes magnified our direct impact by improving conditions for all mission-aligned providers. The most significant validation came from competitive dynamics. Several major technology companies had attempted to enter the adaptive learning market with generic approaches based on their existing platforms, investing substantially in marketing and sales capabilities. Despite these resources, they struggled to match the effectiveness of specialized providers with deeper research foundations and educational expertise. The market had recognized that authentic specialization produced superior results compared to surface-level feature implementation. As the anniversary events concluded, Marcus and I found ourselves considering personal legacies beyond Valence Tech's organizational success. The company had established sustainable structures that would maintain mission integrity regardless of our continued involvement. This independence represented the ultimate success of our governance approach, protection mechanisms that function systematically rather than requiring founder vigilance. This realization created space for new possibilities. Our complementary perspectives had built something neither could have created independently, resolving what initially appeared as irreconcilable conflict into productive integration. The company would continue advancing this approach through established leadership and governance structures, while we considered how to apply similar integration principles to new challenges beyond our original focus. Looking ahead to the next decade, the implications of our journey extended far beyond Valence Tech's specific market. The integrated approach we had developed offered potential solutions to fundamental tensions affecting technology development across sectors. The balance between mission integrity and market effectiveness, technical excellence and implementation scale, founder vision and institutional sustainability, these challenges transcended educational technology to affect the broader innovation ecosystem. Marcus and I began exploring these broader applications through a joint lecture series at leading technology and business programs. Our complementary perspectives provided comprehensive insight into how organizational structures, technical architecture, and market strategies could align to maintain mission integrity through growth phases. The resulting framework challenged conventional wisdom about inevitable mission dilution during scale expansion. Student response to these lectures revealed widespread concern about mission sustainability among emerging technology leaders. Many described watching promising innovations become diluted through incremental compromises during commercialization, creating cynicism about whether meaningful impact could coexist with market success. Our experience offered an alternative perspective: mission protection as competitive advantage rather than commercial limitation. The lectures evolved into a formal curriculum adopted by several university programs and startup accelerators. The material combined technical architecture principles with governance structures and market positioning strategies, illustrating how these dimensions could reinforce rather than undermine each other. Case studies from Valence Tech and similar organizations demonstrated practical implementation of these integrated approaches across different contexts, beyond academic settings. We established an advisory practice helping existing technology companies implement mission-protected governance structures. These engagements ranged from early-stage startups establishing initial frameworks to established organizations implementing purpose trust conversions similar to our own. The advisory work extended our impact beyond direct technology development to systemic change in organizational practices. The most significant opportunity emerged through policy influence. Several governmental initiatives focused on responsible technology development invited our input based on practical implementation experience. Unlike purely theoretical approaches to technology ethics, our framework addressed the organizational incentives and governance structures that ultimately determined development priorities and implementation approaches. This policy work expanded to international contexts with particular focus on educational technology standards in developing regions. Our experience balancing innovation with appropriate safeguards provided valuable perspective to countries establishing regulatory frameworks for emerging technologies. The resulting policies incorporated both protection mechanisms and innovation. Enablement, avoiding the false choice between unregulated development and excessive restriction. Throughout these expanded activities, Valence Tech continued advancing under its established leadership team. The company maintained technical leadership through research partnerships coordinated by the foundation, while extending market reach through carefully selected implementation partners. This operational excellence freed Marcus and me to focus on broader ecosystem influence, while maintaining strategic connection to our original organizational base. That the ripple effects of our reconciliation had extended far beyond what either of us could have anticipated during that original boardroom confrontation. What began as a power struggle over company direction had evolved into a comprehensive approach to mission-protected innovation with implications across the technology ecosystem. The technical escrow mechanism designed for founder protection had grown into governance systems shaping organizational development across multiple sectors and regions. The journey that began with a termination letter and a partnership agreement had transformed into something far greater than either Marcus or I could have imagined. From the brink of company collapse to a global movement for mission-protected innovation, our story demonstrates how conflict, when properly channeled, can create extraordinary results. Today, as I look at educational institutions using our technology to reach students once left behind, as I watch neurodivergent professionals thriving with appropriate support, and as I see emerging companies adopting governance structures that protect their founding missions, I recognize that true impact outlasts any individual contribution. The most powerful lesson from our decade-long journey isn't about technology architecture or business strategy. It's about integration, finding the strength that emerges when seemingly opposing forces work in concert rather than competition. Technical integrity and market growth, mission focus and financial sustainability, founder vision and institutional resilience. These aren't contradictions to be resolved, but complementary dimensions to be harmonized. That our story isn't unique. Every day, founders and innovators face similar challenges as they navigate growth pressures while trying to maintain their original purpose. The specific circumstances differ, but the fundamental tensions remain consistent across contexts. What changes is how we respond to these tensions, whether we allow them to fracture our organizations or integrate them into sources of distinctive strength. This integration doesn't happen automatically. It requires intentional governance structures, balanced incentive systems, and technical architecture that embeds values directly into system design. Most importantly, it demands leadership willing to embrace creative tension rather than enforcing artificial consensus. If you're facing similar challenges in your organization, struggling to maintain mission focus amid market pressures, or balancing technical excellence with implementation scale, know that there's a path forward. Drop a comment sharing your experience. And let's build this community of mission-protected innovation together. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about organizations transforming conflict into creation, purpose into performance, and vision into lasting impact. The future of technology depends on leaders who refuse to accept false choices between mission and market. And that future starts with you.